Oh, that's a.
There we go. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Sean, the Common Shooter. With me tonight is Matt from Resist to Tyranny. We're having some really good conversation, and we're kind of in the middle of it. Matt suggested, why are we talking about all this now? So we decided to just go live on it, talking about the volcano
Oh, that's a.
eruption.
There we go. Hey, what's going on, guys?
And all of
The
that
Common
stuff,
Shooter.
and I'm obviously
With me
ill
tonight.
prepared because there's the feedback. But Matt, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know who you are, as if they don't already.
All right, Sean. Matt from Resist the Tyranny. Resist Tyranny here on YouTube, resisttyranny.com, and thanks for having me on, Sean.
Thank you for joining. But yeah, the volcano, if it does go off, there's no protection from that. And would you just say that they're going to be dumping 10 feet of ash?
Yeah, what I saw, articles that I read about it, they were saying that if this super volcano goes off that's over in Yellowstone, that I don't remember what they said, what area, but in areas it could dump up to 10 foot of ash on on cities and houses and people and all that. I mean, you can't prepare for something like that.
No, you can't. It's not like you're going to get dumped with snow. You're not going to shovel it out of the way.
No.
That's life-ending stuff right there. One way, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, there's just no preparing. I mean, it's kind of like it's real similar to the Fukushima thing, that people are worried about with the radiation and all that. I mean, you can't stop it. There's no preparing for it.
No.
All
we can only hope is that it sinks to the bottom of the ocean and doesn't come back up too quickly.
Yeah, I mean, and this volcano is no different. I mean, you can't stop it from going off. I mean, maybe the only way we can do that is maybe take all the liberals out of California since they're close by and like use them as a cork, a plug,
They could just stand there with their signs telling the volcano that it's illegal.
Yeah. The assault volcano,
High capacity magma.
I can't. But yeah, it's just all bad news. I mean, and I don't know how serious it is. I know that what I've read, there are some scientists worried about it. There was a 4.3 or 5 magnitude earthquake that hit that area. And then, when it comes to earthquakes, man, I mean, if that thing does go off, imagine the earthquakes it'll cause in California and anywhere else there's a fault line.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's going to be a blessing in disguise, and maybe California will just recede.
We'll have Escape from LA in real life, right?
Yeah, right. In all seriousness, though, if that does happen, I would feel bad for all the good people that live there.
Yeah, and the projected, if it happens, I mean, like I said, I don't know the real seriousness. I'm not a geologist. I'm just going by what I've read from certain scientists that are worried about it. They said that the ash fall would be all the way from basically the entire western part of the United States, from Illinois over, from Canada to Mexico, and from Illinois all the way over.
Now, what about, is that because of the way the polar winds work? Like, what about Russia and China?
No, because pretty much if you look at the map, which I don't have on hand, or I'd just screen share it, but if you have the center point being the volcano, and up here is Washington and Oregon.
Yep.
Because the way the winds come down, they get hit very little. Now, I'm sure with earthquakes and whatnot, they might get some damage, but they get hit with the ash cloud. The ash cloud goes like this across the United States and across the northern and southwest United States because of the way the winds are.
It's bound to happen eventually. I just didn't think it would happen in my lifetime. I'd say that,
Yeah.
But it's the Earth, so one thing is obviously going to lead to the next, especially when it comes to volcanoes and earthquakes.
Yeah.
Every scientific show I've ever seen where they've talked about how the world is going to end starts with earthquakes and volcanoes.
Well, I think they probably go a little hand in hand, you know.
Yeah. I mean, if the world starts shaking on the fault lines, it's only going to cause a natural reaction to the volcanoes, and they're going to start spitting their stuff out.
Hopefully, I mean, because there are a number of scientists that also said it's nothing to worry about. So I mean, I just, it is what it is. I mean, I guess you just, I don't know that there's even a way to predict it, truly predict it.
I'm trying to do look something up on it real quick. But, I mean, all of these volcanoes have been considered active anyways, haven't they, for the most part? I
I
can't recall the exact number, but isn't a volcano considered active like 500 years or something ridiculous like that? I think it's maybe even longer than that since its last eruption.
I don't know how that goes. I really don't. I do know there's crazy people that live on quote inactive volcanoes, and I think that's just nuts. You know,
Yeah, that is. I would never live in Hawaii. I'll put it that way. Um, an active volcano is a volcano that has had at least one eruption during the past 10,000 years
ooh,
and may be erupting or considered dormant.
well, damn, that's a long time.
Yeah. For once, I slightly exaggerated on the side of negative. Let's see here. Yellowstone supervolcano eruption. 4.8 magnitude earthquake hit Yellowstone. The volcano is under the park. The volcano under the park is so large and has the potential to produce such a massive eruption, it is often referred to as a supervolcano.
Yeah, I guess the magma pool under it is just huge. I mean, just insanely huge.
Yeah, I couldn't fathom it at all.
And like we said, what sucks is you can't prepare for that. There's no amount of prepping, storable food, water, breathing apparatus, none of it. No, you can't prepare for that.
No. And what, if I was out there, I would be in fear right now because they've become accustomed to earthquakes going off. I would assume, anyways, if they've lived there long enough, they're probably used to it. From people that I've talked to in California, they're like, "Oh yeah, we get earthquakes. It's no big deal." I'd be like, "What the hell do you mean it's no big deal?" If the volcano went off and they were within 100 miles of it, they would probably feel that eruption go off.
Oh, I would
And they'd
imagine.
probably just think, "Oh, it's just an earthquake," and not have any thought about it.
Yeah, and I guess there's been, and like I said, and I don't know this I've just been hearing this that there's been more earthquakes than normal in California lately, and
I'd heard.
that one in Yellowstone is the biggest one they've had in 30 years.
Really?
Yes.
Uh,
Remember the earthquake they had in Plattsburgh and fell here.
yeah. And my father just reminded me we're not necessarily immune to natural disasters here when it comes to that stuff. At least not where I live, because we had an earthquake a few years ago. It hit up in Plattsburgh.
Yeah.
We don't have earthquakes here in Ohio, here in Northwest Ohio. I was actually talking to Space Buns the other day, and because she used to live in California, we were talking about earthquakes, and I said we don't have earthquakes here. I said we have tornadoes in the spring, we have droughts in the summer, we have floods in the winter, and or floods in the fall and blizzards in the winter.
I can relate, kind of. We don't have the flat land here for the floods, but we deal with, and we don't really have the tornadoes, although they're not unheard of to hit this area. My niece was born in a tornado, actually, not too far from here. We just get nasty snowstorms. You still got snow up there?
No, no, it was 55 degrees today. I think it was 60 something yesterday, 63 or 65 yesterday. So, most of the snow's gone, thankfully.
Aren't you lucky? But yeah, we still got a good amount out here. Still ice in the driveway that will never. It doesn't seem like it's ever gonna go away. But yeah, the original topic for the chat was the gun rights rally, and as I was telling Matt earlier, that went pretty well here in the Capitol in New York. Saw Trump speak, and as I mentioned to Matt, I could have gone without that. He surprisingly got a good amount of boos as he came out. Touted that he was supporting New Yorkers, and it was time to say goodbye to Cuomo. He's a, and I found this quite ironic. He's a non-fearing gun owner who has his carry permit as he approached the stage with 2 bodyguards on both sides of him. Thought that was a little
I
odd.
just think it's funny that didn't you say earlier that they had to cut his intro short because the boos were so loud?
Well, when they played I watched a replay of his speech, and they cut his announcement out. They started like literally right from the time that he started speaking. Where normally if you see a news video, they show the announcement of, oh, welcome Trump, whatever the guy said, and he comes out onto the stage, and they'll show a round of applause for the guy or whatever, and half of the crowd was booing him.
Nice. Yeah, I
Well,
can't stand that guy.
it's good to see, because in New York, let alone New York, but in politics alone, when I think of Donald Trump, I don't think of a person. I think of a global corporation. That's the
Yeah.
first thing that pops into my head, and the last thing we need is another corporation running the state, a state, or any country.
Well, I'll give you this much. He does know how to make a business work. If in the economic troubles we're in right now, I would look for a really, really good business person to be getting us out of that.
Yeah, and the thought of that is, it's true. It's funny, but there's a lot of truth to that at the same time. We need our government to operate more like a successful business and less like a failing and collapsing one.
Yeah,
But
I'm not saying Trump's the guy for it.
We've had plenty of conversations. We don't trust politicians in general, let alone one that is going to be able to write even more laws to support the businesses that he owns.
Oh yeah, and then I'm not saying Trump's the guy for it. Just it just strikes me as kind of funny that of the two, Barack Obama or Donald Trump, if I had to pick, I'm going to pick the really successful business guy to get us to dig out of this hole.
Absolutely. He did have his counterpart spoke. The other person that's going up for the primary election on the Republican side which is Astorino. And forgive me if I've just butchered his name, because I for some reason I just can't ever say his name right. One thing that was good to see though is they weren't bashing each other. They kept it clean. They weren't. It was. It's not like they spoke at the same time, but they weren't contradicting what the other person had said, which is good. They were playing from the same side, and that was nice to see. They weren't going after each other, making any attacks, or like, vote for me, don't vote for this guy. None of that was said. Not
That's
by
cool.
them, anyways.
Yeah, that's cool. So, but the rally itself was a good turnout. What about your opposition?
Yes, the rally itself, we had 3,500 people, and the rally, it was officially supposed to start at 12:30. I got there about 10 of 11, and actually I did some help with the New York NY2A, the New York State Second Amendment Coalition, selling raffle tickets and doing things for them. But there was a protest for the New York Safe Act, which was New Yorkers against gun violence and New Yorkers against violence. One of those things where it's basically it's like a Bloomberg thing, mayors against gun violence type of BS. And they had about 20 people show up. It was quite funny to see that, and a large group of people that were protesting their protest.
So 3,500 gun owners shows up and 20
Yeah.
anti-gunners.
Yep. Exactly, not including whoever they had to speak for them. And I want to bring this up too. If this, let's see if I can pull this picture up. There was where am I phone on me? Yeah, so I'll just read it off. I meant to take a bunch of video while I was there, but like I said, I was busy working with the uh, New York Second Amendment Coalition, and they were raising money for NYSRPA. Apparently, I can't say these fucking words today. The New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, as well as Scope New York, which are all donating the money to the legal fight and that side of things. Let's see if I can. Yeah, signs posted all over the Capitol building. Attention. Anything that appears to be a weapon, including toy guns and other replicas, are strictly prohibited today at the Empire State Plaza. My immediate thought to that was, one, why do you want to go and piss off a bunch of people that are here to protest for their gun rights? Doesn't seem like a very smart idea to post something like that up. And two, I was unaware that our rights only applied on specific days and in specific locations.
Oh yeah, they just kind of make laws up as they go. I mean, we don't, it's depending on the day they wake up, and of course, you can't have 3,500 gun owners in one place at the same time. That's what apparently a dangerous situation, even though not a single open carry protest has ever gone bad.
I don't know if you can see that sign or if it's just a bunch of blur.
I can tell it's a sign, but I can't read it.
It was posted up on the doorways, on the lawns, all over the place. But again, it was quite the success. A lot of people were there. The state police posted something on their webpage saying that there was 0 arrests made, there was no violence, there was no issue for alarm. You can't ask for anything better than that when it comes to standing up for our rights.
Yep. And it's funny how they believe that keeping people disarmed at these things anywhere would keeps anybody safer.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, when was the last time you saw an open carry protest go bad? They don't.
They don't, exactly.
They don't. There's two things that don't happen at open carry protests. nobody gets shot, and the cops don't go out of control and start tear gassing the people.
Yeah, that'd be their biggest mistake.
I mean, those are the two things that don't happen. There may be lots of other things may happen, but those are the two things that don't happen at open carry protests. And so what do? They just, force people to be disarmed at this one.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is New York State's not an open carry state anyways. So how the hell were they going to know? I mean, it's been said a million times. If you carry concealed, carry concealed. Who's going to know?
Yep. Who's going to know?
That's the point. They definitely made a mockery out of the signs though at the protest. They were holding it up. Lots of, we will not comply chants going on. And overall, like I just can't. I'm thrilled that it went as well as it did, and that I haven't seen any negative news coverage about it whatsoever. There was plenty of news coverage there. There was plenty of news cameras. You could see them all over the place, and on all the local news stations. All they said was, "Oh, there was a protest today for gun rights," and then boop, that was it.
Yeah, they're not going to cover it. They're not going to tell people that there was 3,500 protesters against the SAFE Act and against Cuomo and all that, and that there was only 20 people protesting against, or for gun control. They're not going to say that.
No, they're not doing it, and they didn't. I think they might have at some point given the number of approximately 3,500 people showed up at its peak. But they didn't have anything to say because that all the cameras were there strictly looking for some sort of incident to happen. They were waiting for a fight to break out or something, and everybody's going to snap their pictures.
Yeah, and what's the population there? About
3,500
no, the population.
in New York.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember. I want to say there's 18 million downstate and 11 up.
No,
No?
there's like 16.5 million total.
No, so my dad's telling me 16 and a half.
Well, let's just say 15 million. Let's just for the sake of argument, let's just say 16 million, 15 million. If they did cover it, and they put out the number of like 3,500, what they would do, and because this is how the mainstream works, especially like your CNNs and MSNBCs, in a city of 15 million, only 3,500 showed up. Yeah, that's how they would say it.
That's exactly how they would say it.
And then and with that, then they get to tack on a fringe group of people, the small group, and yeah.
Yeah. What else happened at the protest? Madison Rising played. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. But
No.
they put on. They're very, very pro gun rights. It was a really cool band to see. Very rock and roll.
And you said there was some Connecticut stuff happening there too, right?
They were handing out flyers for the protest going on in Connecticut on April 5th. So anybody that's out in that area, get to it. I had heard about it a while ago. I kind of had blanked out of my mind. I won't be in attendance for that one, but anybody who can make it, definitely do. I had the flyer here somewhere. Give the exact location.
I have it on my events page on Resist the Tyranny also.
Very good.
I was asked the other day from a subscriber if I was going to make it to Connecticut, and I was like, man, I got a shoot coming up in a week. I have to, I have money allotted for that, and time off for work, and if I can make it to Connecticut by the 5th, I will, but it's just not looking good. I mean, if I can get a hold of somebody where they can like, get on their phone on Skype or something, and I can talk to them and live stream from there on a video, I would. But other than that, I'm just not going to make it. You know.
All right, so it's at the Connecticut Capitol, Saturday, April 5th, noon till 3, on the north side grounds.
That, and I wish them all the best of luck. But this is one of my issues with our protests here in this country. As you look at Turkey, you look at Egypt, you look at all these places that take to the streets for days and weeks at a time. We do it from noon to 3.
Yeah.
and so okay, so several thousand people show up, and the legislators and politicians are going, don't worry about it, they'll be home by dinner, we don't have to put up with this much longer.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And I mean, it's fucked up to say, but you definitely are absolutely right. I had planned on staying as long as I could. I ended up leaving about a half hour early because I had things that I had to do. And we're in our world. We live in our bubble, as we've said, countless times before.
Yeah, and we're all, every one of us who's ever gone to a protest are guilty of it because we didn't stay out there for weeks. I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else. But it comes down to Sean, even if you would have stayed overnight, if you were still there, you'd have been the only one sitting there.
Yeah.
Same thing with me. I mean, if I went to my open carry protests and whatnot, I mean, and stayed for a week, guess what? I'm not eating for a week, and I'm the only one sitting there.
Yeah.
So it's really, the numbers have to do it.
What's it going to take for actually people to do that, though, other than, the common vague answer that we have of just a standard revolution? And you think that would ever happen? I don't foresee that ever happening, because we do have lives that we have to live.
I think, and I've talked about this with other people before, I think once people start going hungry, once people are spending the majority of their paycheck on food, and then you add the rest of the crap that we're dealing with on top of that, I think that's when people will start getting really angry. And taken to the streets for much longer periods of time.
I mean, the only successful thing that pops into my head as far as protests that have had any sort of length to them would be Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah.
For how long? Months that lasted.
Well, the original protest was, I can't remember how long, and then the liberals took it over, and George Soros started funding it and all that, and that's when I got out of it. Was like, okay, this is not what it started out to be. Now they're talking about pro-communist stuff and all that, and this is not what I signed up for.
That's all it takes is some money, though, to bankroll it. And at the rally, I was really hoping to see that Trump would just kind of push his support over to his competitor. That would have been great to see. I would think he has too much on his plate. Yeah, I know he's got people to run his business, but you can't tell me any legitimate businessman isn't over the shoulder every once in a while of these people to make sure that they're doing things properly.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Try to run a state at the same time. I think his ratings on The Apprentice started going down, so he needed more spotlight and attention.
Thankfully, I've never even watched that show.
I've seen like one episode. I've heard about it, and I guess that's enough.
Yeah, I can't.
I mean, it is funny though, because I don't see him in the news at all for months at a time, and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm gonna run for governor now.
Well, yeah, you don't hear from him, then it's all of a sudden I have a big revelation about Obama, and then it's birth certificate this and birth certificate that, and then a few months later, another revelation of, and none of it ever goes anywhere. If he even comes out with anything of any real substance, yeah, he's a hack. He's just a hack politician that happens to be a billionaire instead of your normal politicians that are just millionaires.
Yeah. We'll see where it goes, though. I don't think it's going to gain too much of a foothold. I think the grassroots push is a lot stronger than his bankroll. I really do. Even though his bankroll is pretty much endless.
Yeah. Well, I know I was joking around about the businessman thing earlier, but yeah, I really hope his political career doesn't go anywhere.
Didn't he at one point attempt to run for mayor of New York City and lost to that?
He ran for another position. I did, but I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. He threatened to run for president once, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
I don't
know.
think anybody takes him seriously. I think that's the biggest problem. I mean, I was a huge supporter of Jesse Ventura, and I still am a supporter of Jesse Ventura. But as soon as there was the comment that came out about Howard Stern, I'm like, oh, there goes that idea. Nobody's going to take him seriously at that point.
Yep. I'm in the same boat, my man. It's just all the support in the world for Jesse. And as soon as he said something about Howard Stern, I was like, he just shot himself in the foot.
Yeah. Who could take that seriously?
Nobody. Not a person. I don't know a single reasonable person that could take that seriously. Of all the people he could have picked, Judge Napolitano. I mean, just the number of people that he could. Hell, he could have picked my mailman.
Yeah.
And I'd have taken him more seriously. And I think Howard Stern's funny, but no, I'm not wasting a vote on him. That's for damn sure.
Oh, the media would have a field day picking him apart. A field day. I don't think I was taking him very seriously for a while, and I don't think any president should announce any sort of who they want to be their vice president until they're pretty much already guaranteed the primary vote, or a primary vote of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah, look what we got now for VP.
Yeah.
Blundering Biden, That guy's about as dumb as it gets.
But you voted for him, America.
Yeah. Who was I'm trying to think of the guy, was it who was Bush's VP? Oh, that was Cheney.
Oh,
No.
Cheney, yeah.
Yeah. God, there was a guy years ago. I can't even remember who was Clinton's VP.
Al Gore.
Al Gore. Yep, that's not who I'm thinking of either. There was a really goofy guy. I can't remember his name now.
Ross Perot.
No.
He was goofy.
He was goofy. I voted for him. Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name now, but yeah, there was somebody else had a real goofy VP in my lifetime.
I wasn't even old enough to vote when Ross Perot was up for election.
Yeah.
You talking about Ford with Nixon?
No, I'm not that old. I'm not that old. I'll think of it. I'll think of it some other day. Like I'll go to bed tonight and be like, oh, that was Dan Quayle. That's who I'm thinking of.
Dan Quayle. Yeah, he was like in his 80s or something, wasn't he? Ridiculously old.
No, Dan Quayle was really young.
He was really young?
And he was
Who am I thinking about that was really old? The you know who I'm talking about?
You're thinking John McCain?
No.
Who's Ross Perot's running mate?
Ross Perot's running mate.
Oh, I can't remember anymore. Yeah, I remember who he's talking about, but no, I can't remember his name. But I'm thinking of Dan Quayle. He was a goofy clown. He really was. Yep. Yeah, I liken him to Joe Biden.
Meh. Trying to get it.
So how about the Fort Hood shooter?
Tell them about that. You know more about it than I do right now.
I figure use that for some fill-in here while we're got some quiet time. But yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't know, there was a shooting in Fort Hood, Texas. I believe it was today. Yes, it was today. A friend of mine actually is stationed there. He just happened to not be there at the time, and he was at home there in Texas. And so there's 3 people dead, and then four including the shooter. 11 more injured, and it apparently started out in the motor pool. I don't know where the guy got his gun from, but and I say that this may sound weird that I don't know where the guy got his gun from, considering that's a military base. But remember, all military bases are disarmed except for MPs, and it's not like the place is crawling with MPs. So it started in the motor pool under some personal dispute, and 3 people died. The guy shot himself, and 11 others are injured, and 1 is in critical, or I'm sorry, grave condition, I think was the term. And it just kind of, while my thoughts go out to the people who lost family members and people that are injured, not to skip over that, but it just kind of goes to show that, is this not another gun-free zone that that would have been safer if people were armed?
Man, we mentioned it. Nobody shoots up a open arm or an open carry protest. And there's obviously guns rampant at those. Yet the gun-free zone is where these are happening.
Yep, gun-free zone, and like we talked about in the beginning of before we went live, the gun grabbers argument is that citizens should be disarmed. There's no reason we should have guns. Only the police should have guns to protect us with. They don't do a whole lot of protecting with them though. And when you ask, well, why do the cops get guns and citizens don't? Well, cops are trained. Well, where's their argument here then? Because is the military not trained also? So why are the bases disarmed? We disarmed some of the most highly trained people in our country.
People that we pay, we train them specifically to do this job.
And yet they're disarmed, and there's 3 people dead that could have possibly, and 11 more injured. And who cares about the guy that shot himself? But that could have possibly been fine if 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, any more would have been armed.
Yeah, it would have ended a lot quicker. You wouldn't have had all the collateral damage. And again, as it's been shown time and time again, the people that do this, when they are met with resistance, more often than not, they take their own life.
Yep. And Silverwings just put in the chat, Fort Hood shooter's weapon ID'd as a Smith & Wesson .45 pistol, and the commanding general does not approve of concealed carries on base. So maybe the guy carried it onto base. I don't know. Just based on what Silverwings just said, that it kind of sounds like maybe the guy did carry it onto base. But that's just a guess. Don't anybody quote me on that as fact. But either way, I mean, and here we go. I mean, are we going to hear about this from the gun grabbers? Are they going to try to spin it for gun control? I mean, he didn't use the scary black rifle, and it's a gun-free zone.
Another target-rich environment. How are they going to spin it though? They've already been doing everything they can, and it's been proven ineffective. And they're going to do what they always do. Well, we just need to be stricter. We need to be harder on it.
Well, they may not attack it at all. I mean, if you remember the Navy Yard shooting last year, the gun grabbers said very little about that. Why?
They did.
You
It was a
know,
shotgun.
because it was a shotgun, because they couldn't attack the scary black rifle. You know, it was a disarmament zone. It was a gun-free zone, and a shotgun was used. So they couldn't spin it. So they just ignored it. They just basically didn't even talk about it because they couldn't use it to their advantage. You know, just like this one, they so far, from what I can tell, from what I've read and now what Silver Wings have put out there, they are not going to be able to spin this one very good for their agenda either. So they probably won't even mention it.
The first, I just looked it up on Google real quick. The first few sites that popped up were USA Today and Fox News.
Yeah, I think I read an NBC article on my when I made my video about it.
And the one, how many did you say dead? 4?
Three dead plus the shooter, so 4.
4. So 3 people dead and 1 piece of shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I purposely titled my video 3 dead and 11 injured because I really didn't care about the 4th one that was dead.
Yeah. Good call.
Who has the highest rate of gun violence in the world?
So I'm still trying to get some information. I'm totally ill prepared tonight, guys. I'm sorry.
Atomic Bull said not allowing military personnel to carry is about as ass backwards as it gets. 12 Gauge 1930 said next big thing is the assault pistol. The assault pistol dud gun grabber's dream. Oh.
My father was telling me that apparently, like, you can bring firearms onto the base, but they have to be checked in with the military police. So you can bring them in, but you can't carry them, basically.
Right. They go to a locker, I believe, don't they? Don't they go to the armory?
Yeah.
You're locked. They have to be kept locked up at the state police or at the MP's headquarters.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's
So basically, they do a weapons check.
they're still disarmed either way, whether you can carry them on or not. You know, because at the end of the whole thing, yeah, you check them in and then you give them to somebody else and you walk around disarmed.
That's still back-ass words, though. You can bring them in, but we're just going to go on the honor system that you're going to tell us and check them in.
Yeah.
That's just stupid. Who set are these rules set up per base? Or are they set up by government? Who makes these regulations?
I believe, and I talked about this. God, I can't remember. Back during the Navy Yard shooting, I was in a chat that we touched on this. I believe there was a law passed that doesn't allow but only certain people to carry on a base. But I can't remember what that is. But I do believe it's an umbrella thing for all bases, unless you're going to the range, you know, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, unless you're actively training.
Yeah.
That just seems so redundant to me. I mean, at an army base, wouldn't you want our men to be armed all the time at any military base? It just seems like that would kind of make some sort of logical sense to me. Maybe my logic is messed up, but
Well, that's what the majority of them are trained to do. I mean, the majority of them are trained to to fire a weapon and carry a gun. But I was talking to somebody earlier, and they were in a debate with a military friend of theirs online on Facebook, saying that this military person said that they believe that the military shouldn't be armed, because when something like this happens, it's going to be all kinds of people just firing guns at everybody. And I just think that's one of the most ignorant statements I've ever heard.
Yeah, everybody's gonna be firing guns everywhere. That doesn't make any sense. If you got 20 people aiming one way and one guy aiming back the other way, you should probably be shooting at that one guy.
Right.
At least on a military base, anyway.
And it's not like every
member one way and one guy shooting the other way. Maybe I'll leave that one.
His thing was he's dressed just like everybody else, so they're not going to know who the shooter is. Well, first of all, chances are that if the shooter starts shooting, it's around a handful of people, and that one or two people are going to shoot back. It's not going to be the entire base. It's not going to be every military service person on the base that's shooting back. I mean, the base is not a house. I mean, we're talking miles squared. And the people are spread out all over the place. I mean, why do you think there was, a grand total of 14 people injured, whether died or injured? Because there was only that many people around.
If there was significantly more, there would have been a significantly higher number.
Yeah. And so you're talking about a small amount of people that are trained in combat that are going to take out the one person. They're not going to shoot
nowadays,
each other.
they've probably been in active combat in an active shooter scenario.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I really don't think that I really don't believe this is a false flag thing, just because, like I said, they can't spin it. They just cannot spin this to their agenda. Like I said, the evil black rifle is not used. It's a gun-free zone. It was a personal dispute between two people, not an act of terrorism, not, from what I can tell, not a mentally deranged person, not somebody who acquired a gun illegally. Any of that.
Straw purchase or a ghost gun.
Or ghost gun or straw purchase. Yeah, there's just nothing there for them to twist it. There's nothing there for them to work in their agenda. Like I said, I think they're going to do the same with this, like they did the Navy Yard shooting. Just just ignore it. We can't use it to our agenda, so we're not going to talk about it.
Obama is quoted as saying, "We're heartbroken something like this may have happened again," when he received news about the incident.
Yeah, two Fort Hood shootings in his presidency. Because 4.5 years ago, another guy shot up Fort Hood.
It was that, what the heck was his name? That crazy looking guy.
Yeah, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but yeah. 4.5 years ago, guy claimed jihad against America and shot up Fort Hood. So, I mean, how many military bases are you going to let get shot up, Mr. Obama? Before something gets done about this. And disarming people is not the way to do it. It's not going to help. It's not going to help.
Yeah. It's the definition of insanity. They keep forcing the same crap down our throats over and over and over again, and pushing more and more restrictions on everybody, not just the standard everyday Joe Schmo citizen, but everybody, now including our military personnel who are trained, like we've said, and it's not working.
Insanity, the definition of insanity.
Doing
the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
I saw something in here I was just looking for, that he was engaged by military police, and at which point he decided to take his own life.
Yeah, so when the military police finally got there, which is just like any other police, after the crimes have already been committed. You know, they responded. They didn't stop anything from happening. You know, because I don't know about you, Sean, but I don't have a cop standing right outside my door just in case somebody breaks in.
Yeah.
You know, and so being armed, I'm much safer in my own home uh, and on my person. But so the police finally showed up after X amount of people were injured and killed. And once the shooter was confronted with other force, he took his own life, as happens quite often.
Yep.
Now, what's the difference between the military police being able to show up and use force against the guy, and one of the other people there that's not military police uh, being able to be armed, or a citizen to be able to be armed? I mean, we're still talking about the same opposite force. We're still talking about an armed individual being able to protect their own life. And in this case, the guy shot himself. In other cases, the guy shoots himself when he's, like I said, presented with a force against him. Why? Because these people want victims. They don't want armed people. And by disarming people, all you're creating is victims, hence easy targets for these other people, for these murderers.
Yeah, I mean, he must have realized. The only thing I can fathom here is that he must have realized that he was done for. CNN says that the suspected shooter had behavioral health and mental health issues, and that just goes into the same argument of, well, if it's been put on record somewhere, if the news, and again, this is CNN, so take the reliability of it with some leniency, is in question, then why are they allowed to continue to stay on active duty in the military?
Well, that's a very good point. I mean, you know, it's the gun grabbers, and this administration is already going after all military retired and ones that have been recently discharged, even under honorable circumstances. Already going after all military to make sure that they aren't allowed to own firearms in any way possible. But yet they'll keep a crazy guy on duty.
I mean, because I would have to imagine that it would be public record if CNN got it that easily and that quickly.
Or they're just making it up like CNN does.
Yeah, exactly. But that just boggles my mind. That's why I always make the argument, if we're gonna stop these, mass shootings, or not even mass shootings, we're gonna stop these shootings in general, we need to work on fixing the person, not taking the rights away. We need to work on the individual and not on an inanimate object.
Yeah, and that's what, and this argument has been, it's like a broken record. The gun is a tool. And let's face it, drowning, car wrecks, doctors, prescription medicines, heart disease, many diseases, are far more likely to kill you than any gun, much less, an AR or an AK or the deadly assault rifle, or a ghost gun. It's just insane that people refuse to come to those terms. I mean, the University of Harvard did a peer-reviewed study a few years ago, and this is on a worldwide basis, not just United States. And the conclusion stated, basically, I don't have the direct quote in my head, but basically the conclusion was that they have found that neither the presence nor lack of a firearm directly increases or decreases the murder or suicide rate in any country, including the United States. Basically saying that even without a gun, people who want to murder are going to murder. People who want to kill themselves are going to kill themselves. They're going to find a way to do it.
Yeah, it's simple. And if the guy had a knife, he would have used a knife. If he had a crowbar, he would have used the crowbar.
Yeah. Um, I'm looking at the chat room right now. You got a few people out there, Sean.
Yeah, there's definitely some people out there. Thanks for tuning in. Certainly appreciate it. Do quick shout outs here. I know everybody likes the side chat. I like the side chat too, but it's a little harder to get into everything, I think. Joel's Quantum Heart Logic, America Died, Silver Wings, Lone Wolf, Lifted 0422, 12 gauges out there, Atomic Bulls, 1229 Clayton, Caregiver 7751. Thanks for watching, guys. Definitely appreciate it. Keep commenting. Not just so other people see it, but everybody's generally always got good things to say.
Yeah, there's been some good conversation out there. Unfortunately, I got to take off here in about the next 10 minutes. So,
Nidal Malik Hassan was the 2009 shooter. That's what Silver Wings posted.
that's right. Yep. Also, had mental health problems.
Yep.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Was Joel's Quantum Heart Logic says he was the mental health doctor.
He was a doctor?
Not this last guy. Wait. It says the last Fort Hood shooter was mental health doctor. Fishy, fishy, fishy. I don't know if he meant the last, like this most current one, or the last one before this one. But
This is the one before this?
Yeah. It was major.
No, I know he was high ranking. I do recall that.
well, and then we have I mean, we can start putting two and two together if you want to put some tinfoil hats on, where we have the mental health doctor Nadal or Nassan or whatever his name is from
Yeah.
last time, Nadal Hassan, mental health doctor, and then you have the Aurora, Colorado shooting, who was being treated by a Air Force mental health doctor, who also happened to work on uh, uh, what do they call it? Basically brainwashing programs. Um,
Oh, like the not electric shock.
like MK Ultra type stuff. I mean, they haven't used that term in a lot of years, but um, yeah, the Air Force doctor that James Holmes was seeing was a military doctor. We got military doctors, mental health doctors that are shooting up places. We got other ones that are at the same bases with mental health issues that are shooting up places. Like I said, put your tinfoil on, but you start adding things up and things do get fishy. Like Joel's Quantum Heart Logic said at the end of that comment, fishy, fishy, fishy. It is.
And these are the people that are supposed to, and that's where the whole system is just screwed. And there's nowhere to turn when you have the people that are supposed to be the caregivers committing the crimes as well. And I hate to phrase it like that. I just don't know a better way to do it.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know, but like I said, I mean, what are they going to do about it? Like I said, unless they find some wacko way to spin it for their propaganda machine, they'll more than likely ignore it for the most part.
They're gonna talk about it to the very minimal. I mean, inside one of the articles that I just read real quick, it's just kind of tucked in there that it was a handgun somewhere.
Yeah, bottom of the page, one word about it. That's about it.
Yeah, one little small 1 sentence, 2 sentence paragraph.
What? No assault rifle?
Yeah, Smith & Wesson 45, not an assault rifle, not an assault shotgun, not an assault, you know, not an assault piece of paper, not an assault T-shirt, not an assault Pop-Tart, or an assault squirt gun, like like kids are, getting in trouble for these days. But there you go. I mean, that just also the handgun thing just kind of helps solidify our argument, or a lot of pro-gunners' arguments that look, I mean, you're more likely to get killed by a handgun than you are by any rifle.
Yeah.
And this just proves it a little bit more.
And that's catch-22, because then, they could take it like, well, that's why we need to get rid of them. Like, no, that's why we need them, because you're not going to get rid of them. There's no way to get rid of all of them. It would be impossible.
Yeah. And then, you asked earlier, what would it take for Americans to actually take to the streets for any kind of amount of time? We're seeing massive civil disobedience in a lot of areas. We're seeing in Connecticut right now, with that Cold War that's happening there. We're seeing people stand up in New Jersey saying we won't comply to your magazine bans. 3,500 people in New York today. That's today, right, Sean?
It was April Fool's Day.
Okay, it was the first yesterday. You have 35 people show up in New York. I mean, there's probably automatically 3,500 people that wouldn't comply to certain laws there. I mean, so we're seeing this happening more and more and more, and I've mentioned before, the pot's boiling. The pot is definitely boiling. People are having enough.
3,500 people in one area that come up, and like I said, there was dozens of coach buses that were hauling people into this, and to see that many people all shouting at the same time, "We will not comply," over and over and over again. If that does not send a message, and that's just the people that could make it. I mean, you're talking on a Monday at noon. 12:30 in the afternoon. Most people are working on a weekday.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to have, with my business, I'm a weekend warrior, and I generally have Monday, Tuesday off. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been there. That's why I don't go to most of the rallies and the protests, because most of the time they're on the weekend. So imagine if this was on a Saturday. How many more people might have possibly have shown up?
Well, and I bet you, Sean, I'd be willing to put money on, if it was time to take real action, that you would say, screw work, this needs to happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So the lack of people there because they went to work, and believe me, I used to be one of those guys that just, at the top of my lungs, would yell at people, that you spend all week long talking about freedoms and liberties and all that, but when it comes time to actually go to an open carry march or a protest or to stand up, well, it's raining, or I got to work, or I can't find a babysitter, and and yeah, trust me, I used to be the guy that got really pissed off at those people, but I've calmed down about that quite a bit. But yeah, because I do.
I know where you're coming from, because I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't felt like a hypocrite at times, being like, go support your rights, go support your rights. Hey, you guys going to the rally? Yeah, neither am I. I got to work, this, that, and the third. But because it doesn't put a happy smile on my face whenever I have to do that or say something like that. But people do have families, and they have jobs they need to support.
Yeah, and like I said, it's one of those things, man, where I do know that there are people out there like yourself who can't make it to these things all the time, but when the time is called for action, you're going to give work the finger and you're going to do what's right.
Yeah. And I just, honestly, my hope is that when that time comes, it's not going to be the absolute uh, fuck work and fuck the whole world. I'm taking my family and going on the run type of scenario.
Yep.
Do a little screen share here for a second. And like I said, I did some work. I was doing a raffle to help out the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, which is basically our branch of the NRA, working with a Facebook page that has well over 8,000 members now. It might even be up to 11,000 if I remember correctly, who played a big part in organizing this. The name of that Facebook page is NY2A, or the New York State Second Amendment Coalition.
Mm.
And I'll just pop up a couple of pictures. So you guys can actually see the crowd. And I was basically back by where we were holding the protest. There was a main stage. There was like 2 trailers almost directly behind it, to the left and to the right. And I was back there, so you got pretty much the full crowd back from where I was. Can you see that, Mike? Or Mike, yeah. Can you see that, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a sea of people right there. And that goes even farther over. Oh, here you go. I just thought about this. The Huffington Post. I don't know if you guys can see this picture. The Huffington Post, one of their lead editorial person posted a picture very similar to the one that I have right here. This one I took, that we were violent because we were showing Cuomo being hung. You can't see the lettering on it, but I believe it says something like Common Core stuff, Cold War enforcement, things like that. But can you tell me what that looks like to you, Matt?
It looks like somebody hung.
Yeah.
Looks like
You're ruined by
like,
it. Well, it could be the angle that I'm at, and I'm sure that's why they spun it the way that they did. But if you got up close enough to it, you can realize that he's set up like a puppeteer, like a puppet.
oh, it does. Yeah. Now that you mention it, it does look like a marionette. Yeah.
But they had a good picture of it, pretty much close up and straight on. Apparently, whoever allowed him to take the picture didn't realize who they were. And that is one thing that was brought up in the group of people that I was with, that I had seen, not 100% while I was there, but if anybody ever goes to a gun rally to support your rights, don't be the person that the media can make a target. If you can't articulate yourself, if you don't know what you're going to say to questions that may be posed to you, don't talk to the media at all. Just tell them you don't want to talk. Don't be that guy that the liberal media loves to friggin' pick out. And, I saw one guy there with his son, okay, and he was just your straight up, out of the woods, hillbilly redneck. And anybody, however somebody wants to raise their kids, by all means, raise your kids that way. But he's got the kids wearing an akbuilders.com hat. And he must have been about 5 or 6 years old. He was definitely school age. And he's wearing a necklace with a bullet on it. I don't know what caliber, not like it matters. That guy and his son would have been the perfect target for the media to just say, these are the people. That would have been the picture that I was expecting to see on Facebook shortly after. We have an image that we need to protect. We need to get our voices out there. We need to do it in the right way. We can piss, bitch, and moan, complain, curse, tell everybody in the government to fuck off in this media. But when it comes to actually doing it on mass media, don't know what you're going to say, don't say anything at all, and make sure that you go out there in the proper attire and a good image. My plan, if the media came up to me, was one, I wouldn't want to stumble over my words. I wouldn't want to say the wrong thing, not that I think that I would, but I'd just decline. I don't have anything to say. I'm here to support my Second Amendment rights. I don't need to answer you any further. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those are great words of advice too. If you're not educated in if you're not fully educated in what's happening, or if you think you're a bad speaker, don't talk to the press. I mean, yeah, you're going, oh, I'm gonna get my face on TV. Yeah, but they're gonna use you as the dumbass who represents everybody else.
Yeah.
You know?
And don't anybody take it as I'm saying, show up. Absolutely. Show up to these protests. Do what you can, but don't necessarily just be the guy that's there either. As I said, I went out there. I had contacted him through email. Hey, I'm going down there. I don't want to just be another body walking around. What can I do to actually help? Talked about it. I don't know how many times on here. What do you actually do to help? Well, you know what? That's what I did to help. I walked around. We sold raffle tickets, and I did something while I was there. So get active in it. If you're going to go, if you got time for it, if you can plan it, do something. Get active. Make a sign. Go there and show the support. But by all means, make sure you represent the community well while you're out there.
Yep. Yep. Well, Sean, I said I had only about 10 minutes or so. I hate to leave you hanging, buddy, but I do got to jump off here. But I think,
for coming on.
yeah, man, it's been about an hour and 15 minutes, I guess, anyway. But
You should have started about 15 minutes earlier.
we were having a lot of good conversation before it all started. But yeah, man, thanks for having me on. But I got a jet, so I appreciate for having me on, and thank you everybody for coming out and listening to what we have to say. And I'm sure Sean's got a whole lot more good things to say. So.
Oh, I'm pretty tired. I'll probably wrap it up here as well. I'm not very good at talking to the camera without at least seeing another box down there. So I'll probably pop into another chat or something, search around. Definitely, guys, Matt hasn't really plugged himself too much, so make sure you check out his channel. And definitely check out his Monday chat. I've been virtually completely absent from that, and I apologize. My Mondays are fucking chaotic, for no other meaning of the word. It is absolutely chaotic. Well, hopefully I'll be able to catch it next week. I'm going to try to make that a priority.
Well, next week I have Larry Pratt on the show, so from Gun Owners of America.
Awesome.
Yep.
Is that just going to be you and him, like a interview type thing?
It's just going to be a live stream interview. It's not going to be a hangout. There will be a hangout that follows, but
Okay.
It's going to be a live stream event. Just Mr. Pratt and I at just after 7 o'clock.
Okay. How can we find that? Is that gonna be posted on your Google Plus page? And
It'll be on the Google Plus page. It's already an event that has started on my YouTube channel. But yeah, if it's posted on my page on the Resist Tyranny community, and like I said, it's actually already a live event that the countdown has started for on my YouTube.
Awesome. I'll definitely be tuning into that one live. You said it's starting a little after 7 Eastern time.
Eastern, yeah. I have it scheduled for 7:10. It may be between 7 and 7:10. It may be 7:15, but depending on how live stuff goes.
Yeah.
And it's not being a hangout. Technical difficulties being what they are, but it should start right about then.
Okay, and you said you're going to be doing a hangout following that?
Hangout following that. I don't know how long it'll last, but there will be a hangout following that.
Awesome. Well, thanks again to everybody that did tune in. I know it's a short show, but I have been liking to keep it rather short and sweet. So If you get a chance, if you haven't checked me out on YouTube, if you follow me over here from Supporting Matt, please do so. If you want to follow me on Google Plus, by all means, you can add somebody to your circles that doesn't post hardly anything, with some random shit every once in a while. But I'll be more than happy to not take up your news feed too much. You won't get as much as you'll get from Matt, but I'll make sure it's filled with mindless drivel.
I appreciate that, Sean. And again, thanks for having me on tonight, buddy.
Absolutely. All right, guys, everybody take care. We'll see you next Wednesday.